Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome back to Watchcastage. I am somebody who loves dive watches, but I also love affordable watches. Ergo, I love affordable dive watches. And over the last couple of years, I've been trying out a bunch of them. I've been trying to find my favorite, and I will be sharing my experience with all of them, but we're starting this journey with the Citizen Promaster dive. So let's go ahead and start by talking about the measurements. The case diameter on this thing is 44 millimeters, the lug tip to lug tip is 50 millimeters, lug width of 20 millimeters, the thickness is 11.5 millimeters, and the weight of this thing is 94 grams. I also want to give you a quick rundown of the movement. This uses Citizen's E168 movement, which is an eco-drive movement. That means that it is powered not just by the sun, but by any light. That includes indoor fluorescent lighting, desk lights, anything. The accuracy is quoted at plus or minus 15 seconds a month, although mine performed much better than that, and the battery life is quoted at around 6 months from a full charge. Here is how the watch looks on my 6.5-inch wrist, or 16.5 centimeters, if I remember correctly. You can see it wears a little bit large, but because the dial is so small in comparison to the case, it looks a little bit smaller. If I rotate it around, that 11.5 millimeter thickness really does it a lot of favors. Rotating to the rear, it just has a pin and buckle, and I am near the end of the strap. So if you have a 6-inch wrist, that might be the limit, but you have a lot of room on the other end, and it overhangs for me. Rotating back around, and there is a side shot again, and there is the face of the watch. Now here is a really quick lume shot. In the bezel, you just have the single lume pip. The hour and minutes hand are very easy to differentiate, so you can easily tell the time, and you have great orientation on this thing because the 3, 6, 9, and 12 are different, and the 12 o'clock is different enough from the 3, 6, 9 to tell the time in the dark quite easily. Really good lume on this thing. Now let's go ahead and do a couple of size comparisons. First up, we have the Casio MRW200H. I believe the case on this is 41 or 42 millimeters, but there you go. The MR200H looks bigger because the dial is so much larger than the Pro Diver. Here is the Citizen next to the classic G-Shock Square. I think these are fairly comparable in size. They both might look big on paper if you just look at the measurements, but they are deceptive because they wear surprisingly well. There you go, G-Shock Square. We have a Seiko 5KX, and wearing these is a very different experience. The 5KX is chunky as heck compared to the Citizen Pro Dive, but comparable in terms of diameter, at least in feel. There you go, that's the 5KX. Now here is the Orient Komatsu next to the Citizen. If I am not mistaken, this is 41 millimeters, but when you look at them, they look pretty comparable, even though the Citizen is 3 millimeters larger. Let's go ahead and throw up another solar diver. Here we go. This is a Seiko. I can never remember the model number, but this is their 38 millimeter solar dive watch. Quite a bit smaller than the Citizen, and this one wears smaller and looks a lot smaller. And the final watch that we have is the Tudor Pelagos 39, as the model number implies. 39 millimeter case next to a 44 millimeter case. Does it look 5 millimeters larger? I don't think so. Now I want to share what I liked and disliked about this watch over the last 1.5 or 2 years of wearing this on and off. The first thing that I liked is how surprisingly wearable it is. On paper, this should not work because 44 millimeters is way too big for a 6.5-inch wrist. Yes, it may look slightly oversized, but overall, I think it is quite nice looking, and it works if I want a little bit more of that robust look. Also, for a 200-meter dive watch, 11.5 millimeters in thinness is quite amazing, even for a quartz watch. I also found it quite legible. I love that it's solar powered because I don't have to worry about changing a battery. I am also one of those people who loves having a date on their watch, so I enjoyed that function on the Promaster. The 20mm lug width makes it easy to change out straps, although I do think a 20mm NATO looks a bit undersized on this thing because it is so chunky. The orange minute hand on this thing is such a nice aesthetic change, giving you that little bit of a pop of color, and this watch is relatively affordable, so when wearing it, I didn't really worry about babying it. And then as far as what I didn't like about the watch, the first thing for me is the strap. After all this time, I still think it's a bit too stiff. It's just not the most comfortable for me. I'm also not the biggest fan of the date position. I do appreciate having it, but the position of the window isn't my favorite. The case shape, although it is wearable and it's deceptively small wearing, I find it to feel a bit stubby, a little bit bottom heavy. I know that's weird to say, but it's just a different case shape that takes a little bit of getting used to. I also found the bezel slightly difficult to turn because there are portions of it which are smooth, and when you're trying to turn and you grip onto the smooth part, your fingers slip a little, and it's just not the easiest bezel to use. And now I'm getting extremely nitpicky, but I find the hands on this watch to also be a little bit stubby, and I wish they extended just a little bit farther out so they were closer to that chapter ring and it was a little bit easier to read. So what are my final thoughts about the Citizen Promaster Dive? This watch gives me a very no BS kind of attitude. It's a watch that you just put on and go about your day without worrying about it. I think that for people who are looking for an everyday dive watch that is no BS, it's more durable and robust and a lot more accurate than the automatic offerings, this is a great option. I have enjoyed the heck out of wearing this over the summer months. I do just wish that I had the blue version or maybe a white dial version. That would be amazing. In summary, I have found this a great put it on the wrist and never take it off kind of watch because you can beat the heck out of it. You can go swimming, you can take a shower, you can work in the yard, you can go for walks in the city. You can do whatever you want with this thing, including going desk diving into Excel, which is what I do every day, and it has been a great companion for that. Really, just an all-around great and affordable watch. It's okay, I know there was a fingerprint on the crystal, I wiped it off. I am sorry for touching the watch that I wear. That's all that I have for you, just a quick video sharing my wearing experience with this watch. If you have this, I would love to know what your experience has been. Let me know in the comments down below. And I will talk to you whenever I make another video. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Whoa, whoa.